Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Biss Knows Ball, episode 6. This was the toughest episode to date. It was a good exercise for me to go through, but this was a tough one. We're going to rank 3 quarterbacks, so Superflex Dynasty rankings of 3 quarterbacks, all back-to-back-to-back right now, all coming into their second year in the league. And I'm going to rank them in a pyramid style. So the top being future fantasy superstar. The middle, I believe, is a guy that's just going to be okay. A solid, QB2 starter for you in a Superflex league. And then the bottom guy, I have questions whether he'll even be in the starting lineup in 2 years for you in a Superflex league. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the 3 quarterbacks that I'm going to be ranking today are Caleb Williams, who was selected with the 101. He's currently 23 years old and ranked as the QB9 in Dynasty, Superflex Dynasty. You have Drake May, who is currently drafted the 102, 22 years old, so the youngest of the group, and currently ranked as the QB10. And then you have old man Bo Nix, who was drafted with the 112, and is 25 years old and currently ranked as the QB11. Okay, so this was tough. Again, very similar players, both all fairly young, coming into their second year. None had like a standout season. The Bo Nix had the best season of the 3 of them. But again, I want to look at 2027, so 2 years from now. Where are we going to be at with these guys? So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm going to start with the middle tier, actually. So I want to start with the middle tier, the guy that I think is just going to be okay, and he'll be a solid starter for you as like a QB2 in a Superflex Dynasty League, and that is Bo Nix. So Bo Nix, who happened to have the best fantasy rookie season of the 3 guys that we're going to talk about today, I don't know, like he's tied to Sean Payton, who is a good coach and is known for having good offenses, but he's operating that Joe Lombardi offensive coordinator scheme, who prioritizes easy passes, check downs and easy completions, which is great for Bo Nix. But I feel like that caps his upside. If he's just kind of like dinking and dunking and taking like what the defense is giving him, he's not really taking any chances downfield. I think that caps his upside, and that's why I don't have him at the top tier here. That, and I don't know if I trust his wide receiver room. Like, you have Cortland Sutton, who is developed into a fantasy, a very usable fantasy asset. He was very good last year with Bo Nix, but he becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2026. So, with that contract situation being what it is, and the uncertainty of him being on the Broncos, like maybe they re-sign him, but that's the only like really fantasy relevant wide receiver he has right now. Like his other wide receivers that he has around him are like Mims. And you have Troy Franklin, who's also coming into his second year. So that wide receiver room doesn't really give me great confidence that he can be an elite, like top 5 fantasy asset, like the guy that we're going to talk about at the top does. Now, he has a solid rushing floor. Don't get me wrong. He had like 400 and something rushing yards last year. So that's nice to have. And they were top 10 in red zone efficiency last year, which is nice and probably added to his fantasy finish. Can they repeat that top 10 red zone efficiency? We'll see. But because of, the lack of weapons, I believe that he has, or, he has okay weapons, and that offense, which kind of prioritizes the easy completions, I just have him at that okay level, right? That middle level where he'll be a solid QB2 for you in a Superflex Dynasty League, but I don't see that like huge upside that I do for some of the other guys. So I have Bo Nix as the just okay. Let's move up to the top tier and talk about the guy that I'm most excited about in 2 years, so 2027. I believe Caleb Williams could be a top 5 Superflex Dynasty quarterback. Now, for a couple of reasons, right? So Caleb, similar to Bo Nix, Caleb has a solid rushing floor, right? He had almost 500 rushing yards last year. He has an exciting offensive coordinator coming over, Ben Johnson. You saw what Ben Johnson did last year with the Lions. They scored a ton of points. They were very explosive. I think Ben Johnson can take those weapons that, we were so excited about Caleb and his wide receiver core coming into his rookie year. I think he can take those guys to the next level. So speaking of his wide receiver room, he has DJ Moore, fantasy stud. Rome Odunze, which I think is going to be even more of a fantasy stud than DJ Moore coming into year 2. As long as Caleb takes that step forward and Rome takes that second year bump, with which most wide receivers do, I think him and Caleb are going to be special together in the future. And they just signed Zacchaeus from, I believe, Washington, who's kind of like the diet Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not saying that he'll play that role in that Ben Johnson offense, but if you're looking for a player comp, that's what we're talking about. So, he was drafted to be great, and Ben Johnson had the second his offense had the second most yards in the NFL last year. So just behind the Ravens, who absolutely torched everybody. So I'm excited for, Caleb in the next 2 years, being paired with Ben Johnson and those weapons he has. I think he can be an elite top 5 Superflex Dynasty quarterback for you. So go try to get him. If the owner's a little bit disappointed, it might be hard because he was in Superflex leagues. He was probably the 101 last year, so he might be hard to get. But why not try, right? So that leaves our boy Drake May. So I have Drake May at the bottom. I have questions whether you might be able to even start Drake May in 2 years in 2027, and here's why. So New England has been going through. It's completely it's nothing against Drake May. It's more so like the team and like the weapons he has. And a little bit about Drake May. So the team has gone through some coaching changes in the past few years. You get Mike Vrabel coming back in. Now, Mike Vrabel hasn't had a winning season since 2021 with the Titans. Now, you want to target players that are on winning teams. I think the Patriots. Sorry, my Patriot fans. I think the Patriots might be going through it for the next few years. Right, so you have Vrabel coming in, known to be kind of like old school. He was bottom 5 in pass attempts while he was in Tennessee. Now, was that because he had King Henry? Maybe, but still not a good sign for Drake May as far as the passing game. But then you have Josh McDaniels coming in as the OC, who's known to be a good OC. He runs a balanced scheme. However, and you even had Devontae Adams saying this as well, in order to be successful in the Josh McDaniels system, you need a quarterback like Tom Brady. You need an elite level quarterback, and I just don't see Drake May being that elite level quarterback. He's solid, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's elite enough to really be successful in that Josh McDaniels system, as successful as it could be, right? So that gives me some worry. The other thing that gives me worry is his wide receiver room. You need weapons to throw to. They have a wide receiver room full of just wide receiver threes. Now, the draft hasn't happened yet, so maybe they address it in the draft. The wide receiver draft isn't being touted as super deep or super talented, but maybe they draft somebody and it works out. But right now you're looking at, they signed Mac Hollins in the offseason. Okay. You have Demario Douglas, you have Jalen Polk. None of these names, get me excited for the New England Patriots and Drake May in that offense. He also has it. All these guys also have that rushing floor. So he also had 400 something rushing yards as well. But I just don't see Drake May being elite enough to be a top level elite fantasy quarterback in 2027 under that Josh McDaniels offense. Now, again, whether it be the weapons, whether it be Drake May himself, I just don't see it happening. So I question whether Drake May can even be a starter in 2027 for you. So maybe this might be time to sell high on Drake May. I know it's super early in his career, but people are buzzing about Drake May and the Patriots. I've seen some mocks get put Tet there, right, from Arizona, that wide receiver, which he's supposed to be the guy in this wide receiver class. Now, if Tet goes there, maybe it changes some things. But right now he's not there because the draft hasn't happened. So the wide receiver room right now that they have is uninspiring, to say the least. So I have my worries about Drake May 2 years from now. So, and like I said, people are buzzing, so maybe it's the time to go sell high. So those are my 3 quarterbacks coming into their second year, both young. Or all 3 of them young in their 20s, all have a solid rushing floor, but that's how I have them ranked looking 2 years from now. So I have Caleb Williams 1, I think he's going to be a top 5 dynasty asset. Bo Nix too. I think he's going to be okay. A solid QB2 start for you. And I question whether Drake May will even be in your starting lineup 2 years from now. So that's what it is. Do me a favor, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you like and subscribe and follow along. Interact with the post if you're liking the content. So that's at all my socials is Biss Knows Ball. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. What did I say? Yeah, I believe so. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Make sure you go follow Biss Knows Ball. Like I said, interact with the content. Let me know what kind of content you want to see. Right? Always looking to analyze trades or free waiver wire pickups or prioritize pickups. So that's more so like in season stuff. But yeah, let me know if you're playing in Dynasty leagues right now and you want trade reviews or moves you can make right now. That's what I aim to do is give you some actionable advice you can take away from each episode and put into play right now to stay ahead of your league mates. All right, so that's that. I'll see you in episode 7, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for following along. Biss Knows Ball.